Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and we're continuing our series of short talks in the book of Psalms. And today we come to Psalm 130. It's one of the songs of ascent that we've been looking at recently, but it's also what's called a penitential psalm, one of 7 psalms like this. And it's quite possible that it was written for the Day of Atonement, the big festival, very important festival in Jewish thinking. But it's also possible it was written when Nehemiah returns after doing so much good reform and finds that the nation has backslidden. The people in Jerusalem have fallen into wrongdoing again. I used to be a huge advocate and fan of Mad magazine, and one issue they did the Mad Trivial Pursuit, and it had sort of all the kind of Trivial Pursuit questions you'd expect, and one of them was this, which I quite liked. In which Star Trek episode did Engineer Scotty save the Enterprise from certain destruction? Answer: all of them. Now, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I know that's not exactly true, but the point is this: whatever dilemma the Enterprise crew were in, you could guarantee that Captain Kirk or Spock or Montgomery Scott would get them out of it. It was a certainty. It's one of the things you could be absolutely certain of. And when we look at this psalm, we've got a situation where the psalmist is in a very difficult situation, but he's hopeful. It's optimistic, and by the time we get to the end of the song, you get the feeling that he's on the right track. Everything is going to work out okay. Let's look at Psalmist's situation, verses 1 and 2. Out of the depth I cry to you, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. There's a sense here, isn't there, of separation. There's also a sense of distance out of the depth. There's a sense then, isn't there, that the psalmist is doing some self-examination. He feels a long way from God. He feels that his sin would cut him off. In fact, in verse 3, he says this: if you, O Lord, kept a record of sins, O Lord, who could stand? He's a realist, isn't he? He knows that he is a sinner. He knows, however you look at it, he's in trouble. It's notable that when Jesus started preaching, you can read in the first chapter of Mark and verse 15, what he actually says is, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Repent and believe the good news. There's something people need to do before the kingdom of heaven gets there. They need to repent. So the psalmist is a realist. But he's also someone who has hope. One of the things you note about this psalm as we look at it is that he calls God by the covenant name, Yahweh, capital L-O-R-D in our versions. He knows that the Lord will come and save him. Verse 4, but with you there is forgiveness, therefore you are feared. This is a God who's worth fearing. In the sense of this sense of the word is probably respecting. This is a God who has time for people and will forgive whatever their sin if they turn to him. So he has real confidence. Verse 5 and 6, I waited for the Lord, my soul waits, and in his word I put my hope. There's hope there, you see. Verse 6, my soul waits for the Lord more than a watchman waits for the morning. More than watchmen wait for the morning. You can imagine if you were a watchman in a city looking out for enemy. Just imagine a pitch black moonless night. You would have longed for the dawn to give you some reassurance that the enemy was not coming. And he's patient, isn't he? As we see that picture of the watchman. A watchman needs to be patient. A watchman needs to be alert. And the psalm ends on a very encouraging note. Whatever his state, whatever his sin, he knows that the Lord will forgive him. And he urges other people to put their hope in the Lord. Verse 7 and 8. O Israel, put your hope in the Lord, for with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He will redeem Israel for all their sins. So good is the situation of forgiveness that the psalmist urges others to put their faith in God and to look for that forgiveness. One of the things that comes across in this psalm is that there's a sense of relationship. Religion is always about doing loads of things. But this psalm is about the psalmist wanting to restore his relationship with the Lord. And as he does that, he's basically posing a question to people who are listening to this psalm and to us today. Why would we put our hope anywhere else when there's such forgiveness that can be found in the Lord? Thank you for listening.